Yo, hello gamers, it is your favourite local face camper, tunneler, OP killer abuser and noob enemy minus rep profile here, and today I'm going to be looking at these new notes with you guys. So as you know, Behaviour likes to release these little notes about what's going to happen with the game and what their thought process is. So we got a doctor update, which I'm going to be honest, I'm not too happy about. We'll go over this first, but we also have a ruin update, which is getting people riled up. So, doctor update. So, this is Behaviour in a nutshell here. We're gonna read this briefly. So, in the mid-chapter update, we'll be changing the core elements of the Doctor's gameplay. He's been a polarizing figure since his release, which he has, and we felt it was time to revisit his kit with an eye to making it less frustrating to play against him. Okay, so lower tier players who can't hit skill checks or rely on stealth, and I'm not saying you're inherently low tier because you rely on stealth, but generally high tier players don't like stealthing. But if you enjoy stealthing, that's, you know, no issue, that's not an insult, it doesn't make you any worse at the game, but generally you don't see that much at high tier. So it punishes new players who can't hit skill checks, really. And so we are going to make him less frustrating. That is all. Are we going to look at what makes him weak? Are we going to look at making him viable? No mention of that. No. All Behaviour care about is, do the survivors find him fun? No? Well, we're going to Legion him. Okay, now, there's all sorts of add-on changes and stuff that aren't listed here. Perhaps the add-on changes could be good. So I'm not saying that Behaviour aren't going to make him viable, but the fact that they're telling us that they only care about making him fun to play against isn't a good sign. Once again, I don't know what they're going to do. Maybe they will make him viable, but right now, all they're caring about is what the survivors think. So this is a very recurring thing with Behaviour here, and we're about to see that again further down the page. So basically, he gets a rework, blah-de-blah-de-blah, and another Behaviour in a nutshell moment. The ability has a long cooldown. We're back to adding stupid fucking cooldowns on literally fucking everything. And I do apologise for how much I'm going to be swearing in this video, because I am sick to death of the fact that Behaviour is so out of touch with what makes a video game fun. Not even balanced or fair, but just fun. They don't understand the concept of fun. And if anyone from Behaviour is watching this, which chances are you are, because you guys do care about the community and you love your game, and I commend you for how passionate you are, but you guys need to start taking in people from the community, the high tier players. Right, you need to look at feedback from the community. You need to look at your high tier players. What you guys are doing right now is just not on. You can't keep doing this. It's so unfun to play as. Killers are already the least popular role in the game by far. Why are you going to make them even more frustrating to play against? This isn't even like a balanced discussion here. This isn't like, oh, killers are strong, oh, killers are weak. This is killers are fucking tedious and annoying as shit to play, and this is not fucking helping. It's not. You literally have a timer until when you can next do a thing. Like, that's not fun. You literally just hold W for that time. Great, very fun. So yeah, that's Behaviour in a nutshell. Nerfed snapping out of it so that survivors don't get punished as much for it. Because, you know, skill checks are hard. So, yeah, once again, Behaviour only caring about survivors, but we'll look again here. The meat of it here. Excuse me. Ruin and Gatekeeper update. So, the upcoming mid-chapter update will also include a major overhaul to Hex Ruin and an associated update to the Gatekeeper emblem. Recent data shows that Hex Ruin is used in over 80% of all games in red ranks, and across the entire user base, it appears in about 45% of all games. So that's from rank 1 to 20. This is taking into account people who literally don't own the perk. So even for the fact it's a DLC perk, it's used a lot. So Ruin is used a lot. What are we going to take from this? We're going to look at the perk to see what makes it so frustrating to play against. Okay, once again, we're only thinking about the survivors here. Whoa, frustrating to play against. It is for some people, 100%. It is definitely frustrating, but once again, you're showing no shred of a fuck here given to killers. Maybe you want to look into why it's used in almost every single match? NERFED is pretty fucking strong and pretty fucking ridiculous. Is that used in 80% of matches? I bet you it's not. You know why? Because NERFED isn't core. Ruin is what we call a core perk, meaning we have to have it in order to do well. But, right. So, let's see why they're changing it. It punished new players or people who can't hit great skill checks. I like this. This is good. It is kind of ridiculous expecting new players to hit this. It's a very rough perk for newbies. But then they do something silly once again by saying we don't want people who can't hit great skill checks to be punished. I like the fact you don't want newbies to be, annihilated, but the fact that you don't want survivors to be punished for being unable to do the only fucking objective that they have to do is mental. It's like saying you don't want Call of Duty players to be punished for not being able to aim. Mate, it's literally the only job they have. If they can't do their job, then that sounds like a them problem. Why are we babying people who can't do their job? Right. Newer players trying to help veterans with generator repairs tend to make the situation worse rather than better. I agree with this because, they miss the skill checks and it fucks up the other players who can hit them. But at the same time, perhaps you should also be looking at why newer players are playing with veteran players. Once again, behavior. Maybe this is more of a you problem for not getting your shit together. But, okay. I semi-agree with it, though, because, new players do get fucked by that, and it is a bit unfair. So, point 2. The passive nature of the gameplay pressure it provides means that there's a huge amount of potential with very little effort or risk on behalf of the killer. Right, let's go into this as well. So, the passive nature of the gameplay pressure it provides. It is a passive perk, you equip it, and you can't interact with it as a killer. You have it, and you have it. Simple as. The only thing that can happen is the survivors interacting with it. And it does give you pressure without you doing anything. Yes, that's true. Is that inherently a bad thing? No. Without this, gens can and have gone in 3 minutes, which we could see more of because of this. But okay, maybe you think the killers should earn their pressure. I agree with that. If we can have a consistent way to earn map pressure to a viable degree, then 100% I agree with that. But it means there's a huge amount of potential with very little effort or risk. Right, we'll stop here. Huge amount of potential with very little effort. Yes, I agree. You equip the perk and it could go really well without you doing anything in terms of ruin. You still have to put effort in. You can put ruin on, and if you don't put any effort into your match, you will lose. Yes, you put very little effort into ruin itself because you ignore the totem really. If you're playing totem defender, you're probably going to lose. So you are better off ignoring it. But very little effort, you still have to work your ass off, right? But here's the one that I disagree with again, risk. You are risking the fact that a quarter of your measly 4 perks is going to be gone for the entire match. That is a pretty big risk, considering you are 4 perks against 12. If there's a discussion that's always been going on, which is about why are survivors able to 1v1 killers? And a big part of it is the fact that they're literally even. They have the same power as killers, bro. They have 4 perks each, which means 12 perks. 12 perks versus 4. And the risk of ruin is that it can be 12 perks against 3. And that is a fucking huge risk to take. That is huge. Let's move to the next one. It's inconsistency due to the random nature and the appearance interval of skill checks. Yeah, so very inconsistent. 100% I agree with that. that's just an inherent issue with making things rely to skill checks, because skill checks are RNG, which goes back to the same thing I've been saying for years, is that you shouldn't add RNG into a core factor of your gameplay. But once again, you know, that is a core aspect of Dead by Daylight, so I'm not sure if that will change. So they're changing Ruin instead of skill checks. So let's see. We also looked carefully to see how it functions as part of the killer's loadout. Beyond the obvious desire to slow down generator repair, Hex Ruin functions as one of the very few perks effective at slowing generator repair in the first couple minutes of the trial, which we'll call early game. So Hex Ruin is one of two perks, the other one being Corrupt Intervention, to apply early game pressure. And this is important to killers' rankings because of the Gatekeeper emblem. And then they go on about their emblem. Let's talk about this once again. So, Ruin is important to killers' rankings. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But instead of talking about your ranking system, why don't you talk about your paying customers who keep your game alive and how they feel? Let's not talk about killers' rankings, but killers. Yeah, let's talk about killers. Why is Ruin important to killers? Because gens go too fast. You need to keep that in mind. So they then go on about their shitty emblem that no one cares about, and then they talk about Ruin. So let's have a look at this. The new Hex of Ruin is simple. All generators are affected by Ruin. If a generator is not being worked on, it regresses at twice the normal regression rate. Now, at first I thought this was Pop Goes the Weasel 2, where you kick a gen and then it starts regressing, but it regresses twice as fast. But I believe what they're going for is that if a generator is not being worked, so this means they're going to be regressing at twice the speed at all times without a kick unless they're being worked on, which actually is pretty fucking good. However, it's only really good for high map pressure killers, really, because you want someone like Hillbilly to skirt around the map and keep them off the gens so you can get that regression, you know, in. You can get it in. Whereas if you're someone that's, you know, not high map pressure, we're talking Michael, James, literally anyone that isn't Billy, really, you're not going to be getting any use from it, because some of those survivors are going to be on different generators across the map and they're going to be glued to those gens. And if you're just walking around scaring them off gens, you're not killing anyone, which means you're going to lose. So if you commit to killing anyone, you're not going to get them off the gen, which means your perk isn't going to work early game. And it's going to force to late game, which is already, you failed. You failed. You wanted to keep this early game. It's already not early game. I've already proven it's not early game. So it's late game. At the end of the day, even if it's not early game anymore, at least it's still a thing, right? So we look at late game. If you get a 3-gen lockdown, GG 100%. This will make 3-gen lockdowns 100% a win, no matter what. I'm pretty sure that's not what you wanted to do. I'm pretty sure you've expressed dislike with the 3-gen situation, because you've stated that killers can get banned if they keep a 3-gen lockdown for 10 minutes. So this might not be an ideal side effect. But let's take a look at a normal situation that isn't a lockdown. If we have 3 gens left and we've got however many people left, and we'll scare them off the gens. To be honest, late game, right, you're going to be scaring people off gens for the most part. There's probably going to be, I mean, now that this is, I was about to say there's going to be 1 or 2 people dead, but really it's not, because early game's gone. So if you're using Ruin, there's going to be maybe 1 person dead late game. Unless the survivors are not doing gens for some reason. So it'll work if they've chosen a gen and they want that gen, then you'll scare them off that gen and you'll win, because the other gens will just be regressing the whole time. And because they've committed to 1 gen, you can stop them from doing that. So that's good. That's a green light there. However, survivors have counterplay to this, as always, which is just doing multiple gens at once, and it becomes the same thing as before, where If you're pressuring them off gens, scaring them off gens, then you're not chasing someone, or killing anyone, I should say, which means you're not going to win. And if you're not scaring them off and you're chasing them, then they're going to do the gens. So, and it's still a hex, by the way. So, what do I think of this whole situation? I think it is a very stereotypical behavior moment where all we care about is how the survivors feel, not about viability, not about how killers feel. But aside from the fact that they've only had survivors in mind, this new perk isn't terrible at all. And I think I will still be using Ruin in future matches with this. However, I do think it will be less effective as a perk. Now, this brings us back to the same thing that I've been saying for a long time. Instead of giving us these bandage fixes, or as Americans say, band-aid fixes, right, in the form of perks, why don't we address the core aspect of gameplay, right, which is that gens go too fast. If you want to nerf killers, I'm not saying these are nerfs, but I'm saying if you want to, then you should give us appropriate amounts of time to deal with the match. Because let's take perks out of the equation here. If we don't have any gen perks and survivors just do gens, they can be out of that match within 3.5 minutes. I think Marth88 has shown they can be out of the match within 3 minutes on the dot. With the fact that it takes survivors 2 minutes to die once you get them on the hook, plus the fact there's 4 of them, it's not really possible if survivors play decently. It's physically impossible for killers to win. So now let's add perks into the equation, like generator perks. It becomes possible for killers to get a 2k, I believe. But that's, once again, very difficult. I've done a video before with all the maths on it. It was one of my most watched videos on Dead by Day, or YouTube, sorry. I can link that below if you guys need that. I've gone over the numbers and stuff before. But basically, the gist of things here are survivors are upset. Well, they weren't upset, to be honest. I haven't seen anyone bitch about Doctor for a long time, but, you know, Doctor's getting fucked anyway. So, behavior thinks survivors are upset when they're not. So, fuck Doctor. Slap a cooldown on him, you know, behavior things. Ruin is annoying. It is. I will give you that. But, instead of dealing with, you know, the core aspect of gameplay, they nerf the perk. What we're going to see now, matches will generally go faster. I'll give you that. They'll go faster. They won't be much faster, I don't think, but they'll definitely go faster. There's still a massive disconnect between behavior and their high tier players, although it is also important to keep in mind that not many players are high tier. So, it's a bit rough because obviously behavior want to look after the main people in the game, which is like 80% of people don't really know what they're doing. And the thing is, because they're catering to them, these people don't get better. Because instead of bettering their gameplay and you know, learning the game and improving, behavior just goes, oh no, it's okay. We'll nerf this for you. We'll buff you. We'll nerf everything that you don't like. So instead of people learning and improving, people get rewarded for being trash because they get their way. It's just not nice, really. I don't know if anyone from behavior is going to make it this far through the video, sorry, but I know people from behavior will have watched this video to some extent, 100%. And if any of you are still here, to anyone at behavior, thank you for watching. I appreciate the fact that you care about how you know, we feel and how I feel. And I understand that you guys are very passionate about your game and you have the best intentions. But I think it would be smart to start taking in feedback from high tier players as well. I get that you've got the forums, you've got the, you know, Steam forums, Ease forums, you got Reddit, you got all of that, which is for the average Joe. But perhaps you should talk to targeted individuals about the game at higher tiers and, you know, what would be appropriate changes. And ask people who play your game as a job, basically professional Dead by Daylight players, You know, what they feel about this. Not this as a whole, but just any change you make. Because I know you guys have great intentions, and I know as individuals you are all amazing. I've spoken to a lot of you, and you know you're amazing, 100%. But it's just there's a huge disconnect, guys, and it's disheartening. And I'm sorry that I get worked up. I'm sorry I swear a lot. I'm sorry that I'm sorry I get worked up. It's because I'm passionate about this game, and it does make me very upset to see you guys doing things that are unhealthy for the people who really kept your game alive throughout these years. Your veteran players. I'm going to keep it real. Most of your veteran players are gone. You've got your new players coming in from all these DLCs, which is great. But the thing is, you're not going to keep them for long if you keep, being so disconnected. So honestly, out of love behavior, I would honestly ask you guys to reach out to your high tier players and just ask for advice. It doesn't have to be me. If you don't think I'm, good enough at your game, I understand. Just please pick someone who's knowledgeable and listen to them, because it's just so silly seeing top tier players get fucked in favor of lower tier players. I know you want to be inclusive to those players, but right now you're not being inclusive to us players. But that being said, to everyone, viewers, behavior, anyone in the world watching this video, thank you so much for watching. Please let me know how you feel in the comments below. If I haven't stressed this enough already, I will just say it one last time. This is a very good perk, 100%. But the early game is definitely gone. And we are going to be experiencing shorter matches because of this. We're going to see a lot of corrupt intervention being used. We'll see more people experimenting with anti-heal, and they'll quickly learn it's not smart because A, it never was good, and B, medkits have been buffed to fuck, so if anti-heal does become strong, people will bring their medkits. So right now it's either corrupt intervention or lose. We'll see how well this goes though. But once again, the overall gist of the thing I'm going at here is, why do you slap cooldowns and everything? And why do you fuck high tier players in favor of lower players? Thank you guys so much for watching, and hopefully I'll see you all in the next one. But yeah, this wasn't a nice read today, was it?